and welcome to my long-awaited book review. Well, at least for me. Hi, we're doing a book review. I've had about 3 or 4 hours, in between me finishing this and processing the thoughts. I was at work while I finished it, and oh, did I feel the feels? Picked this one up at Target, not knowing what it was about, knowing who the author was, but having not read any of his work. But I was like, I haven't read an LGBTQ plus book in a while, and I kind of just want the vibes. And also, like, there's not a lot that have like two male lover protagonists. And I thought, you know what? We're just gonna read it. And I saw that it was the prequel to a book. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna spoil myself really, because it's the book before, but it was released after a book was already released, and therefore includes some stuff, and then there was a point to it being released after. I did end up buying the first book or the second. It's a lot shorter, and this one is very extensive. This is like 500 something pages, but I did read through it very quickly, at least the ending part. And I haven't been this enthralled in a book in a long time. And so, without further ado, let's do the book review. The First to Die at the End. And oh, did I love this book. It gave me The Fault in Our Stars meets like some interesting dystopian world that in their present they have this I guess technology or this way of finding out through this person, and they have like this whole corporation when people die, or rather who's gonna die, not when. They don't know when, they don't know how, and the like secret of how like they find out, or this person finds out, was never like told to us, which I kind of wanted to know, but I'm kind of happy that I didn't know, because it leaves like room for me to speculate and figure out in my own like imagination what it could be. But again, I haven't read the other book, and I don't know if it is revealed what this whole thing is. But I think that even though that's like the plot of it, like that now people can figure out when they die, it lent for so many different storylines to be told in this book that I was not expecting. All these different parallels and all these different like people, like their lives interweaving with one another. And it set up a really great story. So we have two different gentlemen. One lives in New York, one is moving to New York, and it's his first day. He's exploring the city, he's a model, and at first I'm like, oh dear, but nothing against models, but I didn't know exactly where they were going with that, because it could have been taken in so many different directions, and I'm kind of happy that he just ended up being this very humble guy who had this great, endearing, loving personality, and he just wanted to be accepted by his parents. He wanted to just kind of start over and start fresh for himself, and then he finds out his life is ending, and he meets this other boy who has a heart condition, and his like heart's a ticking time bomb, and they become instant friends and instant soulmates and spend the last day together and go on these epic adventures, and then a romance blossoms, and it's just this beautiful thing, of just like two genuine people. I loved it so much, because if this was a story about two people, one being more hypocritical, one being, anger issues, like all these different things that, people go through, and it's human. But, if we hold on to that, it sort of makes us bitter. And I think I just love that these were people with problems, but they were just so kind hearted, so humble and genuine. When one was down, the other could pick the other back up. And they were able, even when they were both down, they were able to just be there for one another, whether it was romantically, or when they didn't even know that they liked one another. Like, they were able to just work through things together and figure things out for one another. I think it just would have been very differently if they were different individuals. Which is why I like Dama's app later on, where it's like they get to like meet people that are like very like minded, get to choose people that are more like what they want. It's sort of like online dating for friendships for the last day of their lives. One is dying, and that has a lot to do with why they're kind of just like living it up in the moment. But I feel like based on their characters, like they both would have just done it, if they had gotten the chance to be able to be in each other's lives without the fear of dying. They would have just gone on adventures with one another and like grown. But even with Orion's health condition, I think um there would have been I think it would have been a very different story. But I think we've kind of seen stories that are more like that, and I think this was different in that the one with the heart condition is not the one really to be worried about. And he's kind of putting himself out there, and also like living and showing that, like, even with this condition he can still do so many things. And it's clear that he should have been more present in the moment for a lot of things, and he realizes this through being with Valentino and like showing him this. And so they all learn and they both grow, and it's just a beautiful thing. They're just so cute together. Like, I can't with them. There is so many beautiful cringy moments, and they are strangers essentially. They didn't learn a lot about each other, but they end up falling in love just with the personality and like them, being devoted to each other in this very unique way. And they don't know like the basics, like really. Like, there's this one moment where Valentina's like, I don't know his favorite music, like I don't know this, I don't know that. It's like, but they fall in love with each other's personalities and what they can provide as partners and provide as humans for each other. I also want to kind of get into how Dama and her family, like, even though they appreciated Valentino and what he was doing, it's this like tricky like stepping stone that they're walking on. Like, like, it's just, they appreciate it, but they're also cautious of him because he is a Decker, and they don't want to like be near him because, or be in like situations where things bad can happen, rather, because they want to be safe. But they can be near him, like they are in the house and everything. um but when they get in the car and everything, like they want to be safe. And so that's like one thing where it's just kind of like, oh wow. And then also, like, he's giving Orion his heart, and it's such a beautiful sentiment. Like, I'm gonna keep saying beautiful because this book is beautiful. um but like, I don't appreciate how they're just like treating him. Like, there's this one, like, I think quote from Grey's Anatomy where it's like, you're viewing it as like a project, like something that you're fascinated with, but you're not viewing it as a person. Like, you're viewing like the things separate rather than the actual person. I'm quoting that terribly. But they were just kind of seeing it as his heart. Take care of his heart because he's gonna give him his heart. And it's like that whole thing with like My Sister's Keeper, where like they created this child to essentially be an organ donor and like blood donor to this other child. And it's like they're neglecting the fact that this is a person. And even though they try very hard, to be appreciative of this person, like, it's still like I don't know, like the way that they act, it's just kind of like, okay, we're not even, I think that they should proceed with it in like, they don't know this is going to happen 100%, you know? And we should still treat them like a human being until this happens. He should be able to go out and explore and not be like, oh, he can't eat, he can't, you know? And if that's what, that's him, you know, like it's not like you're putting restrictions on this person, like, you know. I think that it was very selfish at times the way that they were viewing it. um and even the whole party, like, I didn't know really how to feel about it. I mean, like, I guess, like, you know, like Valentino, like, was like, okay, like, they're so grateful and everything. And he was respectful and understand. But if it were me, at least in that aspect, I'd be like, hold on. I think that they would have thanked him very differently had they approached it in the right way. If they had approached it maybe like, oh, you're giving someone a kidney, I think that would have been a more appropriate response to you're giving them your life, your heart. And at this time, and with Deathcast having like its glitches and stuff, we don't know exactly if he's gonna live or die. And that's another thing. If he doesn't end up dying and giving his heart, like, then what? Are you gonna be mad at him? Are you gonna like look differently at him? Because he's gonna be Orion's boyfriend at that point. Like, you know, like still. So how is that gonna work out? You know, you go from A to B like so quickly, and it's like with death cast glitching, I kind of wanted to understand more about like what's going on with that, what was like happening. Again, I don't know. I have to read the other book. But I just, he was so specific in that, the creator was so specific that there was going to be 12 of these deaths. And I'm like, how do you like know that? Like, you know, but I think that, and that lends to the mysteriousness of it all and everything. And I mean, it was very interesting, like his parts and his wife, and um I think there was one of his boy. There's all these like LGBTQ characters that are in this book, and they all have like somehow like pass it intercross with the other characters. You can tell it's a very important topic in this book, and we see a very in-depth lens at this world that all these different characters are living in, and how in the city of New York different people struggle not only with familial things, but also just kind of with like different areas, like in the Bronx where Orion lives. You know, he's afraid of showing affection to Valentino because you know, they can be attacked or scrutinized. And so I think it's just kind of like opens up, you know, topics for conversation. I don't like how Joaquin, I think his name was, the creator, benefited from all this. I thought like he just didn't seem like a great character. I mean, they made him seem like this great character, you know, but I just didn't like him. There was something about him, and then like I don't think that people knowing their death is something that they should know. Like, you know, that's what is so important about living life to the fullest in the moment, because you don't know. And I think once you know, it adds to anxiety and panic, and it's, they talk about it like, oh, it should be this beautiful thing, and it's not. And we see that in this book. And we also see how it can be very beneficial. And then Frankie's character, uh that was something I didn't see coming. I thought he was just a cranky old man, and then all this stuff started happening, and it's so crazy and funny, like how Valentino, if he had just been in a different place at a different time, how things could have changed, and how in a way death cast like influences these deaths. Like the pilot never would have had a heart attack, probably. I mean, like, unless he was like destined to, but like probably would have never had a heart attack if Deathcast hadn't called him and he had gotten anxious and died. Valentino would never have ended up probably at that, in his house at that time, ready to go to the hospital, because like he wanted to spend his last couple of moments there. Like, that was important to him, and therefore he was there when Frankie was doing his thing, and just like, then he died. And so it's so unfortunate, because I'm like, if this thing didn't exist, I don't think these things would happen. Um, and I don't think they know that. I think whatever futuristic or whatever thing that they have, like, knows that this thing is going to inform people, and that's how they're going to die. Um, and then that one guy would have never died, and there would have been never been this shooting if death cats had never been a thing, and he had gone crazy and wanted to go and shoot people. Like, it's kind of like, it shows also, I think, a deeper metaphor to things. So all in all, I love this book. I love the romance, and there's like so many different aspects of it that I can go on and on about. But I think that, for the most part, it was just a beautiful story about living your life to the fullest and being a humble and good person, and what that shows. And also, certain things happen as a result of other things, and life is unexpected. Maybe we shouldn't be looking for a higher power to tell us these things, and just live. But yeah, those are my thoughts, and I really liked it, and I really liked all the different stories, and how people, learned and grew, and how they intertwine in all each other's lives, and how they all dealt with it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see y'all real soon. Bye.